Welcome back to Mia Horror Stories. Tonight's tale I found my doppelganger online, and it found me as best experienced in the dark, which is why the screen will stay black. No distractions, no flashing images, just you, your imagination, and the story. So sit back, relax, and listen all the way to the end, if you dare. The first wrong thing was the reflection in the bakery window. It wasn't mine. Not exactly. It was the same gray coat, the same cheap umbrella with a bite taken out of one panel, the same coil of hair slipped from a barrette. But the jawline in the glass was a fraction sharper, the posture slightly straighter, as if a speech therapist had taught my mirror to stand with purpose. I shifted left. The reflection shifted a heartbeat late, like a video with bad audio. The espresso machine barked. Someone laughed too loud. I blinked, and the pain offered me back my own face again, soft around the cheeks from winter pastries, eyes sleep-puffed, a smear of mascara I'd missed. Explainable. Glass angles, the jumpy daydream brain, the distraction of the rain. I'm Mara. Full name, Mara Keene. 31, perpetually between haircuts, a London-based UX designer who collects mugs and drafts emails I never send. I've lived near Bethnal Green for 3 years, in a second-floor flat with a hissing radiator and the kind of light that makes your skin look honest. This morning's errand list: grab a cardamom bun, answer 2 clients before noon, and try again to get my file export to behave. I wanted calm precision, small boxes ticked in neat rows. That was the motive, at least. Morning, Mara. You're late, said the guy behind the counter, grinning like we had a joke only the 2 of us knew. Alfie Briscoe, 26, male. Alfie is the sort of barista who remembers orders the way other people remember childhood phone numbers. He once drawn a fox in my latte foam when he learned I had a fox sticker on my laptop. His nails are always clean. He hates blueberry muffins for reasons he has explained 3 separate times. I'll never be early, I said, tapping my phone to the contactless reader. The terminal chirped. The radio behind him was stuck on a station that plays 90s hits at a whisper, like a guilty memory. Already paid, he said. You popped in like 20 minutes ago. Said you were back for the bun. I gave you the student discount. Don't tell my boss. I waited for him to laugh again. He didn't. The espresso hissed. The door thumped open. Someone shook rain from their jacket like a dog. The tiny bell on the door trilled. I wasn't here, I said, choosing a light tone that didn't quite land. I've been at home failing to compress a PDF. Alfie's grin faltered, then returned to its post. Okay, sure. Must have been your twin then. He slid the bun over in its flimsy paper cradle. Sugar dust lifted and settled. You left your umbrella, by the way, he ducked, produced a second umbrella identical to mine. Black, 1 panel missing a tooth along the rib. So, now you've got 2. I held both handles. Same nick in the foam grip. Same faint vanilla smell where I'd once spilled a candle. The rationalizations lined up like apologetic schoolchildren. Maybe I left the umbrella yesterday and someone else borrowed it. Maybe umbrellas are more common than we think, and vanilla is universal, like lint. Maybe Alfie was mixing up faces. I could feel myself performing calm. Outside, the street was the color of dishwater. Bicycles moved like quiet machinery through the drizzle. On the corner, Mrs. Patel was wrestling a roll of bin bags into place and muttering at the wind. Indira Mrs. Patel, 58, female. She manages the shop 2 doors down that sells both party supplies and laundry baskets, which seems like a metaphor for adulthood. She keeps a suspicious eye on everyone, but once pressed a blister plaster into my palm when she caught me limping after a run. "Morning," I said. She squinted. "Morning again," she said. "You dropped this earlier." She held up a blue wool beanie with a thread pulled loose near the hem. "Mine. I never left the flat without it in winter because my ears complain like old hinges." Thanks," I said, sliding it into my tote. Inside the tote, tethered hardware security key on a lanyard work notebook, a half-eaten cereal bar. The key felt heavier than usual, a coin of certainty against my palm. I like 2-factor everything. I like doors with chains. I like to know which mirror is mine. Upstairs, my radiator clattered like cutlery in a drawer. My email had multiplied in the hour I'd been gone. Subject lines breeding like rabbits. Ari, quick tweak. /invoice query /last minute help. The flat smelled faintly of kettle steam and damp laundry. I set the duplicate umbrella next to my real one and told myself I'd deal with that later, along with the plant that was dying in a stubborn, accusatory way. My phone nudged my hand. A notification from a neighborhood forum, some thread I never muted. The preview showed a photo snapped through glass. A woman at the bakery counter, face in profile, bun in her hand. My gray coat, my scarf, my hair. The caption, "Anyone know this person? She left her card behind." Thought I recognized her from the estate. Lovely coat. I enlarged it until the pixels showed their seams. The shadow of a small scar under the left brow. Mine, from a dumb teenage bike crash outside a Boots in Brighton, where I'd overbraked on wet leaves. The woman's ear had the same silver hoop. Mine, bought in an airport when a different flight was delayed. Same, same, same. The comments were banal and neighborly. Someone said, "Looks like Mara from the 3rd floor," with a smile emoji. Someone else said, "She works in design, I think." Harmless. Except it wasn't me. Except Alfie's "You're late," and Mrs. Patel again, and 2 umbrellas lined up like a visual joke that didn't land. I messaged the Threads poster. "Hi, that looks like me, but I wasn't there this morning," then deleted the sentence. I tried again. "Hi, I think I know her. I can grab the card." Delete. What if I sounded defensive? What if I made something small into something large? This is my flaw. I do not confront until the house is already on fire. I accumulative avoid. My laptop pinged with a Teams call from a client who always sits too close to her camera. I put the beanie on my desk and breathed through my mouth. Frozen pizza smell drifted from the downstairs flat. Somewhere, a scooter roared past like a hairdryer. I accepted the call. "Hey, Mara," said the woman on the screen, bright and manicured. "Charlotte Charlie Duval, 34, female." Charlie is the marketing lead for a mid-sized heritage brand that sells waterproof coats to people who like pretending they're going on expeditions. She is unfailingly kind, but speaks in bullet points, even when gossiping. I like her, which is rare for clients. "We loved the prototype," she said. "Small snag. Legal wants to see your ID in the onboarding portal again. It says your verification failed this morning. Did you resubmit?" "No," I said. The radiator sighed, as if bored of my answers. I bumped my mouse, and the screensaver dissolved into the dashboard I had last left. "I haven't logged in today." "Okay," she said slowly, head tilt, human BS detector flickering. "Weird." It shows a successful login from clicks on her end. "From your usual IP." Like exactly your IP. Two-factor approved. My security key sat exactly where I'd left it. The lanyard was twisted, as if recently handled. The steel felt cool and ordinary between my fingers. A plausible explanation formed. Cached approvals, someone at legal clicking wrong, a JIRA ticket gone feral. Still, my mouth tasted like copper pennies. "Let me check," I said. I pulled up the portal. The button, retry identity verification. A thumbnail of my passport page sat above it, my 19-year-old face telling me to get on with it. The timestamp of the failed attempt, 9:12 a.m., the timestamp of the successful login, 9:14 a.m. I was in the bakery at 9:12, watching my reflection argue with me. I might have been in the bakery at 9:14 too, depending on whose morning you believed. On the sticky note stuck to the edge of my monitor, in my own handwriting. Email Mum Ray, consultant forms, and don't forget gate code change Thurs. The gate code hadn't changed in a year. I'd written that last night after the management company's notice slid under doors like a timid apology. Everyone knew the new code would leak within a day. Codes, like gossip, never stay put. My phone buzzed again. Instagram. A new account tagged me in a story. The username was a string of letters and numbers that meant nothing. The thumbnail was my face, badly lit, bending over the bakery counter while I laughed at something outside frame. There was no caption, just the mention, at Maricane, my private account. Only friends and clients. Tagged by what? By who? I screenshotted. I blocked the account. I unblocked it to look again. The story had a second clip. My back, crossing the street toward my building. The blue beanie pulled low, the umbrella just so. The angle suggested it was filmed from the window of the flat directly across from mine. Someone's television glowed cold in the reflection. The sound was off. The caption said nothing. A knock rang on my door in 3 impatient taps. "Hold on," I called, heart doing something unhelpful. I peered through the peephole. Jamie filled it, freckled and wet-haired, holding a paper bag like a triumph banner. Jamie Price, 32, male. Jamie is my friend-turned-downstairs neighbor after a breakup rearranged his life. He's a primary school teacher who can silence 30 children with one raised eyebrow, but panics when a kettle whistles. We share Wi-Fi, occasional dinners, and a commitment to keeping each other's spare keys in mismatched mugs by our doors. "Brought you the good crisps," he said as I opened, pushing past with the ease of longtime friends. "Also, did you just come back? I thought I saw you go in about 10 minutes ago. Didn't say hi and then felt rude. But, Jamie," I said, "I've been here." He stopped mid-shrug. He smelled like rain and classroom sanitizer. "Okay, that's sure." He produced the crisps like evidence. "You've got flour on your coat," he added, brushing a ghostly smear from my sleeve. His fingers hesitated. "Or no, sorry. Maybe I'm imagining it." We stood in the narrow hall, the radiator heat pushing at our shins. The flat felt 1 inch too crowded, as if an extra life had been played in it and left a residue. On my phone, the anonymous account's story ticked down its seconds. I realized, with a small, ridiculous jolt, that my rubbish bag was still by the door. I hate leaving rubbish by the door. The tiny fail felt suddenly like a beacon. "Look," I said, and showed him the story. He watched, mouth tight. "That's your coat," he said. "It isn't me," I said. He drew the words out slowly. "So either someone is messing with you, or there's a face filter thing, or some AI video crap, or it is you and you're sleepwalking and also filming yourself. None of these options are fun." He scratched his jaw. "We should do something boring and sensible immediately." We stood there with the sensible options lined up. Go across the street and ask who posted it, march back to the bakery, and ask about the card. Email the client with a dry explanation. Change the gate code on principle, call 101, and ask a board operator what to do when your day is slightly wrong around the edges. Or, least sensible, but most tempting, pretend none of this happened and go back to work, because deadlines are more real than ghosts. Jamie flipped my security key lanyard with a finger, making it spin. It circled, slowed, pointed toward the door like a compass. "Report it," he said. "Or don't. Your call." He watched me the way you watch a traffic light that has stayed yellow too long. I looked at the portal on my screen. The retry identity verification button, ready to collapse one uncertainty or create another. My phone offered the report story option. My fingers hovered, the pads of them warm and damp. "Which first?" Jamie asked. The radiator clicked. The utensils in the jar by the hob trembled each time upstairs. Washing machine hit a spin. Rain hushed against the windows like someone shushing a room. I picked up my beanie. I picked up one umbrella, then the other, absurdly heavy now that they were two. We could cross the street and knock, walk into the ordinary, and make it give up its secrets. Or I could sit down, press the verification button, and see if the system believed me more than it believed the morning. I held both choices at arm's length, feeling the slight sway of each. The radiator had just settled into its usual hissing lull when Jamie said, "All right, let's pick one. Report it or march over there. Sitting here refreshing apps isn't a plan." His voice was too loud for my narrow kitchen. The sound bounced off the cupboards, sharp as cutlery. I wanted quiet. Time to line up my reasons like neat rows of icons. Instead, my laptop chimed with another email, subject line in aggressive caps. Urgent, invoice paid to alt account. My stomach pitched. "What?" Jamie asked. I tilted the screen toward him. The email was from our finance contact at the waterproof coat company, not some spam domain. "Just confirming you requested payment reroute this morning," it read. "Since it came through with your approval chain." "I didn't," I whispered. Jamie scrubbed a hand down his face. "So someone's not just pretending to be you. They're moving money with your name on it." I thought of my flaw, the way I avoid direct confrontation until the problem metastasizes. This wasn't a leaky tap I could ignore. It was my credibility, my job. If I stayed quiet, if I let emails pile up while I rationalized, I could lose everything. "We call Charlie," Jamie said, already reaching for my phone. "No," I said too quickly. "If it's a mistake, I'll look paranoid." His eyebrows rose. "And if it is?" The flat smelled faintly metallic, like damp wires. I realized my hands were shaking against the laptop trackpad. "Okay, I'll email her. Casual. Just check what she saw." Before I could draft a sentence, my phone buzzed again. WhatsApp. An unknown number had dropped a pin location 3 streets over, near a row of derelict workshops. The message, "Come collect what you left." Attached, a photo. My tote bag, the one currently hanging on my chair, slumped against cracked pavement like a discarded skin. Jamie leaned closer. "That's your bag." "It's here," I said, pointing. Keys, notebook, half-eaten cereal bar, all accounted for. I checked the photo again. Same bag, same knot in the strap, same cereal bar wrapper sticking out like a tongue. "Could be an old photo," Jamie said, though his voice lacked conviction. "Or staged. Either way, they want you to come. Which is exactly why I won't." We stared at the pin pulsing on the screen. The rational thing was obvious. Ignore it. Forward everything to the police. Change passwords. Let processes grind slowly into action. But my chest buzzed with a different urgency. What if someone already reported me for fraud? What if the company locked me out before I could prove myself? Jamie tapped the table. "Listen, I finish lessons at 3. I can skip prep, go with you to the workshops. Quick look, then police. If it's nothing, we've wasted half an hour." "It's not nothing," I said. My throat felt lined with sand. A sharp knock rattled the door. 3 raps, spaced perfectly, like someone trained to knock that way. Not Jamie's messy rhythm, not Mrs. Patel's fluttery tap. We froze. The knock came again. then silence, then the faint squeal of trainers on the stairwell as footsteps retreated. I checked the peephole. The corridor was empty. Jamie swore softly. They know where you live. Of course they do. You've been tagged, filmed. They're playing. I pressed both umbrellas into the corner behind the door, as if duplicates might breed into a solution. My phone buzzed once more. Another message from the unknown number. Tick, T-O-C-K. I hated deadlines. They made me rush, skip steps, miss details. And now the problem had a clock. We call the police, Jamie said firmly. You don't play their game. You report the impersonation, the threats. Done. I nodded, but my chest squeezed. The police meant reports, waiting rooms, the risk they'd dismiss it as digital noise until money was truly gone or someone got hurt. Meanwhile, the company's finance team might freeze me out. My reputation was fragile enough without looking incompetent or compromised. The radiator gave a long groan, followed by a clunk, as if something heavy shifted in the pipes. The sound made me jump. Jamie touched my arm. Mara, decide. I opened my mouth, but the laptop dinged again. Another email. This one shorter. Hi Mara, just confirming you'll be at the workshop site for handover. 1 p.m. sharp. Best, L. No signature, no company footer. Just the letter L, the time. 1 hour from now. My fear sharpened into something close to anger. They were dragging me into a meeting I hadn't agreed to. Using my name, scheduling my body like it was theirs to book. Jamie's face hardened. If you don't go, they'll go without you. Use your name anyway. If you do go, he didn't finish. The air tasted sour, like the inside of an envelope. I thought of my private flaw again. How much I wanted to minimize delay, let someone else decide. But here the choice was binary. Show up or don't. Either way, something happened with my name attached. Jamie said quietly, we could bring someone. Alfie on shift, he saw her too. Mrs. Patel's nosy enough to stand watch. Or just the police, straight up. The idea of involving neighbors made me feel exposed, fragile. But doing nothing left my identity flapping in the wind. The clock on my laptop read 12:04. We have less than an hour, I said. Jamie folded his arms. So we go now, together, before they decide what else you've agreed to. The radiator hissed again, water scalding somewhere inside. The umbrellas dripped faintly in their corner, though neither of us had touched them. I grabbed my beanie, pulled it tight, and slung my tote, my actual tote, over my shoulder. We stepped into the hall. The door clicked shut behind us, with a sound far louder than usual. We cut across the estate toward the derelict workshops, rain misting harder with each block. My tote strap dug into my shoulder like a reminder. The bag was here, real, while its twin had already been staged. Jamie walked half a step ahead, shoulders hunched, the paper bag of crisps abandoned on my counter like a relic from a safer hour. Bethnal Green Road throbbed with buses and impatient horns. but the side street narrowed quickly into silence. Warehouses lined the lane, their windows blacked by grime and plywood. The kind of place you'd expect spray paint and teenagers, not official handover meetings. Looks like a set from a cheap crime show, Jamie muttered. I tried to laugh, but my throat closed. My trainers slipped on damp leaves that had plastered themselves to the uneven pavement. Half a mile behind us, the main road was still visible. The cafe, the shops, Mrs. Patel's gaudy balloon display. Half a mile might as well have been another continent. We stopped at the corner where the pin pulsed on my phone. Unit 14, an old workshop with corrugated shutters pulled down halfway, chained, but not locked. Someone had spray painted a crude crown above the door. The air smelled of wet metal and burnt wiring. Jamie checked his watch. 12:48. We're early. Want to call the police now and have them meet us here? I wanted to say yes, but my chest tightened at the thought of explaining shadows and umbrellas to a dispatcher. Let's just look. Quick. We circled the building. The rear had a broken fence, gaps wide enough to squeeze through. Mud clung to my soles, slick and cold. Inside the fence, the yard was scattered with debris, splintered pallets, rusted cans, a shopping trolley overturned on its side. That's when we saw the tote. It lay propped against the shutter, just as in the photo. Same knot in the strap, same half-exposed cereal bar wrapper. I crouched, reaching, then froze. The cereal bar was gone. Jamie knelt beside me, scanning the ground. They moved it or swapped it, which means they're close, I finished. The words trembled out. We both straightened, scanning the yard. No movement, just the drip of rain through a cracked gutter, the faint rattle of a can shifting in wind. I forced myself forward, grabbed the bag, and yanked it open. Empty. No notebook, no keys, no wrapper. Just a single sheet of printer paper folded twice. Inside, printed in a font too clean for its setting, "Try again." My fingers went numb around the page. They're laughing at us. Jamie took the bag, slung it crosswise like a shield. Fine, that's attempt one. We checked, found nothing. Now we leave. But leaving wasn't simple. As we cut back toward the street, a black Vauxhall with tinted windows turned the corner and idled at the curb. Engine low, steady, too purposeful. My pulse slammed. "Don't look at it," Jamie said. We walked faster. The car rolled forward, matching pace. My breath stuttered. I imagined doors opening, hands pulling us inside, my name added to headlines about missing women. We broke into a jog. At the corner, Jamie yanked me behind a skip. We crouched in the stench of old paint and rotting cardboard. The car's engine droned closer, then stopped. My heart clawed at my ribs. Seconds stretched. Then came the thud of doors, boots on wet tarmac, a voice. "Mail, board. Yeah, just here for the meter reading." I risked a glance. Two men in high-vis jackets, clipboards under their arms, walking to the opposite unit. The car wasn't tinted menace. It was a contractor's pool vehicle. Relief burst so sharp it hurt. I laughed, a jagged sound. God, I thought. Don't apologize for caution, Jamie snapped, though his shoulders sagged in relief too. But we're burning time. We've got 10 minutes until 1. What now? I checked my phone. Another message had arrived during our panic. Final chance. Gate code or job. The estate's gate code, the change scheduled for Thursday. My note on the sticky by my monitor. Someone wanted it early. If they had access, they could pass as residents, intercept parcels, enter flats. This is about the building, I whispered. Not just me. Jamie's face hardened. Then we go back, warn Patel, warn the rest. We turned toward the main road. That's when I realized my security key lanyard was gone. My hand fumbled at the tote pocket, but the ring was empty. Cold air flooded my chest. It was clipped here, I said, panic rising. I checked before we left. Jamie grabbed my shoulders. Could have dropped when you crouched, or someone took it. The thought made me dizzy. That key was me, my proof, my second factor. Without it, the system believed them more than it believed me. We retraced steps to the shutter, scanning the mud. Nothing. The lanyard was simply gone. This is attempt 2, Jamie said grimly. We came for answers, lost more instead. We're done. We go home, call the police. I wanted to agree, but my phone buzzed again. A new message, this time with a photo, my front door, taken from the stairwell. The note taped to it in thick marker. See you inside. My legs weakened. They'd been in the building. Maybe while we were here, maybe now. Jamie swore. That's it, no debate. We're calling it in. I shook my head. If they're inside already, the police will take an hour. I can't let them sit in my flat. My things. His jaw flexed. So what? We rush back and walk straight into them. The choice snapped, taut between us. Retreat meant handing over my home, my accounts, my very name, until authorities caught up. Confrontation meant danger immediate, tangible, a stairwell away. I thought of the radiator's groan, the utensils rattling, all those little domestic sounds, bass lines. If anything sounded off when we opened that door, we'd know. Jamie's eyes searched mine. If we go back now, Mara, there's no undoing it. That's point of no return. I adjusted the beanie on my head, rain dripping off the edge. The workshops loomed behind us. The road ahead felt endless. And my flat, my refuge, had just been claimed by someone else. I'm not letting them own my space, I said. My voice was hoarse but steady. We're going back. We reached the estate just before 1. The rain had thickened to a wet curtain, making the courtyard's puddles glint like open eyes. My breath steamed as we stopped at the outer gate. I punched the old code into the keypad. The bolt clicked open, no resistance. If they wanted the new code, it meant the old one still worked for now. Inside, the familiar geometry of brick, and iron railings wrapped around us. But the rhythm was wrong. A stroller abandoned near the bins. Mail scattered across the walkway, soggy envelopes clinging to one another. Curtains drawn at windows, usually left open for daytime light. The whole place felt paused. Jamie put a hand on my arm. We don't go in loud. If they're inside, we listen first. I nodded, though my heart drummed too fast for listening. We climbed the stairwell, each creak of the steps magnified. The smell of bleach from Patel's cleaning bucket mixed with something else, cigarette smoke, sharp and unfamiliar. Halfway up, I froze. My door was in sight. The note taped across it, "See you inside," was gone. Jamie whispered, "They've been back." We edged closer. My tote strap cut deeper into my shoulder, every movement loud in my body. At my door, the lock looked untouched, but the radiator inside hummed faintly. Too faint. Usually, it clattered like a drunk percussionist when warming up. Now it purred like a secret. Jamie mouthed, "Baseline." I understood. Something had changed. He reached into his jacket and produced a heavy maglite torch. "For light," he said, too casual. But we both knew it was also a weapon. I slid my key into the lock, turning it slowly. The latch clicked, louder than thunder. We pushed the door open. The flat smelled wrong. Not just lived-in wrong, stranger wrong. A hint of unfamiliar aftershave, a chemical tang of wipes not mine. We stepped inside. The living room was tidy. Too tidy. My dying plant had been trimmed back, its brown leaves clipped neatly into the bin. The utensils that rattled in their jar were now stacked in exact order: spoons, then forks, then knives. My skin prickled. Then I saw the umbrellas. Both propped side by side, handles aligned perfectly. "Jesus," Jamie muttered. From the bedroom came a sound. Not footsteps. A single cough, muffled, as though someone tried to swallow it down. Jamie's hand tightened on the torch. He nodded once. I stepped behind him, clutching my beanie like a talisman. He pushed the bedroom door. It swung inward. A man stood at my desk, back turned. He wore my gray coat, my scarf, my beanie stretched tight over cropped hair. My security key dangled from his lanyard as he typed calmly on my laptop. The sight hit me harder than any horror film. Not a supernatural twin, not some glitch in the glass. A man wearing me, inhabiting me, bending my space into his. "Stop," Jamie said, voice low but firm. The man froze. Then he turned. His face wasn't mine. Not really. It was close enough that at a glance, in poor light, in a blurred photo, you'd think it was. Similar jawline, same scar near the brow, makeup darkened it. Contact lenses tinted his eyes to match mine. He smiled slightly, as if embarrassed at being caught. "You're early." His accent was London, clipped, too precise. My mouth worked without sound. Jamie advanced a step, put the key down, stepped back. The man raised both hands, palms out, security key dangling. No need to panic. We're just smoothing an overlap. You weren't using the access properly. I was. You stole from me, I managed. My throat scraped. He tilted his head. Only what you didn't value. His gaze flicked to me, then to Jamie, measuring. We can share if you like. Jamie shifted, ready to lunge. The man saw it. His smile hardened. He moved first, quick, reaching for the laptop. Jamie swung the torch, connecting with a dull crack against the man's shoulder. He staggered, cursed, then drove forward. The laptop clattered to the floor. I grabbed the nearest thing, the duplicate umbrella, and swung. It snapped open between us like a shield. The man shoved it aside, striking my temple with an elbow. Stars burst behind my eyes. Jamie tackled him, both crashing into the radiator. The hiss spiked, water spattering the floor. They grappled, grunting, the torch clattering away. The man's hand shot for the key, still looped around his neck. Adrenaline cut through my fog. I dove, yanking the lanyard hard enough to burn my palm. The cord snapped. I stumbled back, clutching the key. The man lunged after me. Jamie caught his arm, twisting. The man roared in pain, but shoved Jamie into the desk, scattering mugs and cables. I fled into the kitchen, the key in one hand, umbrella in the other. My chest heaved, ribs screaming from the elbow hit. The man followed, fast, eyes locked on the lanyard. I flung the umbrella again, this time stabbing with the point. It caught him in the ribs. He hissed, faltered. Jamie slammed into his back, pinning him against the counter. "Go," Jamie shouted. "Take the key." I hesitated, every instinct to stay, to not abandon him. But the man twisted, nearly breaking free. Jamie's face strained red with the effort of holding him. I ran. Out the door, down the stairwell, legs barely working. My ears rang with echoes of struggle upstairs. On the street, air sliced my lungs. I clutched the key, rain slicking my face. My hand shook so violently I nearly dropped it. I dialed emergency. My voice cracked but got the words out. "Intruder, my flat. He's still inside. My neighbor sends someone now." I turned back toward the building. The stairwell window glowed faintly. A shadow crossed, fast, then another. A crash, like furniture toppling. Minutes later, but it felt like years, sirens wailed closer. Blue lights splashed across wet brick. Officers surged inside. They brought Jamie out first, limping, lips split, but alive. He clung to my shoulder, muttering, "He's tougher than he looked." The man came out next, cuffed, coat slipping from his shoulders. Without the scarf, the beanie, the lenses, he was just a man, ordinary, forgettable. And yet his eyes found mine, steady, as though none of this was defeat. The officer asked for the key. I couldn't unclench my fist to hand it over. My palm was sliced raw where the lanyard had burned, blood mingling with rainwater. As they shoved him into the back of the van, he spoke, not to them, but to me, "See you again," he said, softly enough that only I heard. The flat smelled of disinfectant and copper hours later. Blue gloves and muddy boot prints tracked across the floor where officers had moved in and out, photographing, bagging, sealing. My radiator sat silent now, the pipe dented where the struggle had thrown them against it. The sound of it hissing, its ordinary chaos, was gone. I hadn't realized until then how much I depended on that background noise. Jamie sat on my sofa, an ice pack pressed to his jaw. The split in his lip had already stiffened into a swollen line, his knuckles scraped raw. His school would get a different kind of story from him tomorrow, if he could even go in. He kept saying he was fine, though he flinched each time the door slammed below as neighbors came home. "They'll ask me to ID him tomorrow," I said quietly, leaning against the doorframe. The police had already shown me his wallet, real name, real address in another borough. 33, a data contractor with a criminal record for fraud. Nothing extraordinary, which somehow made it worse. "Don't you dare go alone," Jamie said. "You'll want someone next to you when they say his name out loud." I nodded, though I wasn't sure what good names did. He wasn't a ghost to banish by calling. He was flesh, and he'd been in my space, brushing crumbs from my desk as though it were his. The officers had taken my laptop. "Evidence," they'd said. I sat at my desk now, staring at the empty rectangle where it had always glowed. The desk looked wrong without it, as though I'd lost both a tool and a limb. A knock came at the door, gentler this time. Mrs. Patel shuffled in, carrying a Tupperware of dal and rice. She placed it on the counter with firm hands. "For both of you, you need warmth," she said. Her eyes flicked around the room, taking in the scattered umbrellas, the beanie on the floor, the dented radiator. I knew something was off. Told you, people are careless with codes. I almost smiled. Almost. Instead, I said, "Thank you," and meant it more than I expected. Later, after Patel had gone, Jamie dozed upright, still holding the ice pack. I sat on the rug, legs folded under me, the security key in my palm. The metal had been cleaned by evidence techs, but the burn across my hand from yanking it free throbbed each time I closed my fist. A livid line of red. My proof of being myself. The company called in the evening. Charlie's voice was softer than usual, less bullet points, more pauses. "We've suspended the accounts until forensics confirm everything." "But Mara," she hesitated, "I believe you. Finance saw the logs. None of it fits. You'll need to redo verification once we're clear. We'll sort the invoices. You don't need to worry about your contract." I thanked her, though not worrying was impossible. Still, relief unclenched something in me. Work wouldn't vanish, not yet. As the sky outside darkened, I heard laughter from a flat below, the ordinary spill of neighbors' lives returning. Children squealed at cartoons. Someone fried onions, the smell rising through vents. The estate was itself again, except for me. When Jamie finally left, promising to text every hour until I slept. I tried to reset the flat. I aligned the cutlery back into disorder, spread the umbrellas apart. I wanted to reclaim randomness. My plant looked naked, its dead leaves gone, its stalks cropped. I moved it back to the sill anyway, like setting a stone where it belonged. I washed the dishes, each clink too sharp. The flat stayed quiet, too quiet. At 10, I sat on the sofa, lights low, phone buzzing, with sympathetic texts from neighbors who'd heard police had come. I read none of them. My thumb hovered over Instagram instead. The account that had tagged me earlier had been deleted, vanished. My mentions empty now, as though the stories had never existed. I should have felt relief. Instead, my skin crawled. Deletion meant choice. Someone had tidied away their tracks as neatly as they'd trimmed my plant. I checked the neighborhood forum. The thread about the bakery photo was locked. Moderator's note at the bottom. Due to ongoing police matter, the image was gone. Only comments remained. Neighbors joking about twins, student discounts, mistaken identity. My name floated there still, pinned forever to the conversation. At midnight, I crawled into bed. The sheets smelled faintly of the stranger's aftershave, or maybe it was just memory. I rolled them up and threw them into the laundry basket, then lay on the bare mattress until exhaustion dragged me under. I woke at 3 to a sound. A hiss, low, sustained. My chest seized. For a second, I thought the radiator had revived, carrying with it the proof of intrusion. I padded barefoot into the living room, pulse hammering. It wasn't the radiator, just the kettle, left switched on after rinsing mugs. Steam curled into the dark, harmless. I unplugged it, but my hand shook too much to sleep again. Back in bed, I clutched the security key under my pillow like a child with a talisman. The burn on my hand pulsed, the line raised and raw. The flat was quiet, my own again. And yet, as I closed my eyes, I kept seeing his face, so close to mine, altered but familiar, promising in that calm voice, "See you again."